Hi guys, so I'm back again with another baking or cooking tutorial for you guys, and today I'm going to show you guys how I make bread for my family, mainly for my kids. Okay, so this is the list of ingredients that you're going to need. Very simple things. All right, so we're going to start off with 1 cup milk. I'm using a organic milk and I got this from Price Chopper, but you can use any kind of milk that you like. And then I'm going to add heavy cream all the way up to 1 2/3 of a cup. Okay, so it just evens out to 2/3 of a cup heavy cream. You want your milk and heavy cream to be room temperature, so what I usually do is pop it in the microwave for about 30 seconds to take off a little bit of that coldness, and then add in my egg so it's room temperature because I don't like to wait. All right, as you guys can see, I just added that into my mixer, and I'm just gonna mix this together so that the eggs are nicely, beat up with the milk and heavy cream so that I don't have any lumps or anything. So I'm just gonna let that go while I measure out the dry ingredients. All right, you guys, in a separate bowl, add 3.5 cups of flour. I'm using white unbleached flour, I think this is. Okay, and you can add in your 1/2 cup of cake flour. All right, if you want to, you can do it all flour if you like to, but the bread is going to be very dense. All right, I'm also adding in my 1 tablespoon of active dry yeast into the flour mixture, and my 1.5 teaspoon of salt. This is regular table salt. Okay, I'm going to go ahead, mix all those dry ingredients together. Make sure everything is nice and blended. Then I'm gonna change my hook on my mixer to my dough hook and start that, and then just gradually just start adding in my flour mixture about a 1/2 cup at a time. If you don't have a mixer, you can definitely use your hand to do this. All right, you're going to have to knead your dough for at least 15 minutes. But with the mixer, it just works faster for me. So I'm just adding in 1/2 cup at a time. And I usually just leave a little bit of the dry mixture in my bowl for the end, because this bread dough mixture is very sticky. So I just leave a little bit in there to add it towards the end of the mixing process to kind of get the dough off the walls of the bowl, the mixing bowl. You're going to want to stop your mixer about every minute or two to make sure you pull the dough together and get it off of the hook, so it blends well together, because sometimes the dough that's stuck on the middle part of the hook, if that makes sense to you guys, it's really sticky and has most of the moisture. So you want to take that off of there and blend again. So I do this about 2 to 3 times. All right, so everything could be nice and blended. So as you guys could see, the dough is very sticky, and I haven't even added in all the flour yet. So here I'm adding in the rest of the dough. I don't know if you guys can see my hand over there. I'm just adding the rest of it into my measuring cup. And that's what I'm going to use to help get the dough off the walls of the mixing bowl. As you guys can see, every time I add a little bit, it takes the dough off of the wall. It takes away that stickiness. You do not want your dough to be too dense and not sticky. It is a sticky dough, so don't try to, add more flour to make it less sticky, or else the recipe is not going to come out good. All right, just use the measurements that, I give you guys, and you'll be fine. See, the more it takes off of the walls, the faster it goes. So just added in the last little bit of flour I had. Gonna go ahead and scrape off the sides using a spoon. You can use a spatula if you like, but I'm gonna scrape it off using a spoon just to get it all off. That's my daughter's big head all up in the thing. Okay. I'm gonna take the dough off once again. And then just blend it in together again. Well, mix it, not blend it, mix it. And I have it on my number 2 setting. You do not want to go any higher than that because you might break your machine or, mess up the motor. All right, you guys, so I'm just gonna continue the same process, take off the dough off of the hook again, and then just put on the machine again. And this will be my last mixing session of the dough. See how it's taken off all the dough off the side. It's nice and clean. This is when your dough is perfect. If you have a dough that's really, really, really sticky, just add in a little bit of flour, okay? About a teaspoon at a time. But you do not want your dough to get super dense and not be sticky, okay? It has to be sticky. Okay, once I get that off the hook, I'm gonna go ahead and put that on my counter that I lightly floured with some of the cake flour, which works better for mashing out or kneading out the dough. We call it mashing, but kneading out the dough than regular flour. So take that out of there, and we're going to knead it for about a minute or two, just to make sure everything is nice and incorporated. I'm gonna speed this up just a bit. And we're going to try to form a ball, a very smooth ball with the dough, because we're going to go ahead and put it in the same mixing bowl that we had it in. All right, so we're gonna knead it into the ball shape that we're looking for, and you know it could be a little deformed, but you want it to be smooth on the outside part. Okay, as you guys could see, you could see the yeast kind of particles in there, and I'm gonna go in with some grapeseed oil and oil my mixing bowl that I mixed the dough in, and just rub it in with my hand so all corners could have oil. This is gonna keep the dough from sticking to the bowl while it rises. Okay. I'm also going to oil the top part of my dough as well. Just a little bit, very lightly. And just place it in there. What I like to do to kind of speed up the rising process, I like to preheat my oven to 170 degrees, and then I take it off. I let it sit for about 5 minutes, and then I put my dough in there to rise. So I use a damp paper towel and a cover, and 45 minutes later, this is my dough. So it kind of doubled in size just a little bit. It doesn't have to be super huge or anything like that, because it's going to double again in your bread pan. All right, so this is how the dough looks. As you guys can see, it got a lot bigger and fluffier. And I usually don't re-knead my dough or re-mash it or whatever you want to call it. I just like to shape it into the loaf size, and I'm using a 11-inch loaf pan, which are actually very hard to find. I actually found these in TJ Maxx, and I was so happy because I usually use a 9-inch loaf pan, which makes two small loaves, because this recipe can make two small loaves. But the 11-inch loaf pan, I put the whole recipe in there, the whole loaf in there, so I don't separate it into like I usually do. All right, and it works out great. It's almost the size of a large loaf of bread that you can get from the store. So as you guys can see, I'm just using my hands to kind of make the loaf the size of the pan as much as I can. It's gonna go ahead and rise in there again. Okay, I don't want to disturb the dough too much. And then I'm gonna put it in my oven that was preheated again to 170, and I let it cool for 5 minutes. I took the oven off, by the way, and I just put the dough in there, and you see it rose within 45 minutes, and then it usually doubles again. So now I'm gonna turn my oven on to 350 degrees and bake my bread for 25 to 30 minutes, depending on how dark you like your bread. So that's the finished product, you guys. You can let it cool for about 5 to 10 minutes. You do not want to cut into the bread right away because it will fall apart. So let it cool for about 5 to 10 minutes, and then you can go ahead and take it out of the loaf pan. Another reason you want to leave it in the pan is so that all the moisture that's in the bread doesn't really escape. It cools with the moisture in it, okay? Well, that's what I feel. Okay, so that's how my bread look. Isn't she beautiful? So beautiful, such a beautiful color. Has a very nice crust on the top. Perfect for making grilled cheese sandwiches. Just my kids love it, love it, love it, love it. So my kids couldn't wait anymore. They started smelling the bread, so I went ahead and sliced it up so you guys could see and so they could see, you know, what it looks like. I make this for them all the time. For school, I no longer buy bread in my home. Store-bought bread makes me nauseous now. I don't like the smell of it at all. So usually when I'm done baking a loaf of bread, a fresh loaf of bread, my kids usually eat half of it with just bread and butter. So while I'm slicing this to show you guys what the bread looks like, I'm getting ready to serve it to them. So this is a close-up of the bread. So you guys can see the texture. It's very soft, not too dense, okay? And one slice actually fills you up. You do not need 2, 3, 4 slices. Like some store-bought breads, you need like 4 or 5 slices just to feel full, okay? In those recipes, they use a lot of yeast and, you know, all kinds of chemicals to make it, you know, the way it is. But this is how I make bread for my kids and usually serve it to them once it's done. So that's my son. He just took his slice. And my daughter is gonna come for her slice and get hers ready. Okay, if you're not into bread with butter, you could fry an egg. You could do whatever you want. This bread is so delicious, you guys. It tastes like milk in bread. That's why it's called milk bread. There's a different recipe for it all over with different, I guess, preparations, but this is the recipe that I found that I like, that I stuck with. I tried different variations of it, but I like this. Okay, so this is my little piece. I always eat the end piece. Took a little bite for you guys and it's delicious. Hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. I'll see you all very soon. Bye guys. And if you did make the bread, make sure you tag me. Bye.